class and social slime. They don't matter, genocide. Sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids. No one makes countries laugh to your face, fight and die. Cause God forgives. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower class and social slide, they don't matter, genocide. Sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See their shit, force a bear. Fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids. No one makes countries lie to your face, fight and die. Cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Rock the Boat right here on UCY.tv. And I'm your host for the next 2 hours. And it is the 14th of August, 2016. And, it's been dry and warm around here this summer. But I really haven't seen any temperatures. They keep telling me a new record's been broken, yada, yada, yada. I don't know where they're coming up with these damn numbers, but then they're liars, so you can't trust them. So, we check this every now and again. So the low temperature for today was set way back in 1885, and the high temperature for today was set way back in 1944. So this nonsense that they keep pounding at us, that the temperature is just ever increasing, ever increasing, and we're so close to everything dying on the planet because of us and our man-made global warming nonsense. It doesn't hold any water, never held any water. It is simply a mechanism of propaganda, a large lie, make the large lie big, repeat it often, and people will end up believing it. And that's what they do with everything, and I'm getting pretty sick and tired of it. I'm sick of the Jewish lies, I'm sick of the pride lies. I'm just sick of the lies. Bloody well just sick and tired of the lies and the liars. So, I'm just, I saw a thing go by just before I went on air. I don't know when it happened, last night, yesterday. I have no real idea. But apparently somebody shot am in New York, and his buddy, and apparently that's getting some people pretty upset, and that's what we want. We want lots and lots of chaos, It's so retarded. Here, this is a Canadian newspaper, the Toronto. We ain't told you the truth since the day we first printed the first page, Toronto Star. And here's a story from the World News. This is over the top. This is the kind of garbage. This has nothing whatsoever to do with anything. And here's a picture of a couple sitting on a bench. And In early May, when Dr. Thomas Stossel, told his wife, Dr. Carrie Maguire, of his plan to vote for Donald Trump in the general election, she hit him with an ultimatum. She says, if you vote for Trump, I will divorce you and move to Canada, she recalled telling him. He tried to laugh it off, but she says, I'm serious. Before this spat, though, nearly 20 years of marriage, politics had never caused much friction between Maguire, a dentist, and who is the director of the Children's Outreach Program at the Forsyth Institute in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and Stossel, a hematologist, and professor of medicine at Harvard Medical School. Then came the 2016 presidential campaign, a political season that has made for hot debates in the public arena, has also seeped into private lives, complicating friendships, marriages, romances, and relationships among family members. Maguire, 59, and her husband, 74, have disagreed over politics before, but never like this. Never like this. During the 2012 presidential campaign, they had two signs planted side by side on their front lawn in Belmont, Massachusetts, one for her choice, Barack Obama, and his Mitt Romney. There's two loser ideas. Politics were very low on the list of priorities when we met, said Stossel, whose political ideology made a rightward turn in the 80s, bringing him more in line with his brother John Stossel, who hosts Stossel, on the Fox Business Network. Therapists say you have the best relationship when you are clearly separate people, and I like to think that we are emotionally centered so that we can have a major disagreement about something, and it's not a big problem. The couple avoided discussing the campaign into the summer, and Maguire said she will vote for Hillary. The lunatic Clinton fell under the impression that her husband would no longer be supporting Trump. Holy crap, is this guy dangerous? But in an interview, July 21st, Stossel, I don't watch TV, so I don't know how you pronounce that, related his support for the Republican nominee. I'm reasonably convinced that Hillary is handcuffed to the economic progressive populism that has totally taken over the Democratic Party, a.k.a. socialism, says Stossel. A visiting scholar at the Conservative American Enterprise Institute. I think if she gets power and the party gets power, there's a good likelihood that the agendas of the movement will be enacted. To me, that counters what I consider to be what brings us prosperity, which is entrepreneurship. When asked about Trump's talk of building a wall along the U.S.-Mexican border and banning Muslim immigrants, Stossel said, I think it's very unlikely that he can pull off any of that stuff. It seems improbable to me because he still has to work in the constraints of what I hope will be a checks and balances system. Frankly, I don't think he's going to have to make good on a lot of these crazy promises. In a separate interview later that afternoon, Maguire seemed unaware of her husband's stance. She sounded confident that Stossel had been dissuaded from his support by friends, as well as her quasi-threat to leave him. When told by this reporter of her husband's intent to go through with voting for Trump, she seemed shocked, if not angry. That's news to me, Maguire said, and I'll be calling my attorney, she says. After a pause, she went on, I don't think he will vote for him, but if he does, I hope he never tells me about it, for someone who is so reasonable in every other part of his life and who expects people to have expertise. It doesn't really link with Tom Stossel that I know. I would just be disgusted on every level, she continued, and also a little fearful. Disgusted on the marriage level, but fearful for our society. Anna Sproul Latimer, an agent with the Ross Yoon Literary Agency in Washington, thought she knew the man she would marry, but that was before politics got in the way. When she met Matt Latimer in 2008, he was a disaffected former speechwriter in the George W. Bush administration. Back then, she considered herself something of a libertarian, although she had supported Obama's first presidential run. As the years went by and the relationship deepened, she found that she believed in things such as the Affordable Care Act and began to doubt the ideology of the libertarian movement. With the Tea Party's insurgence in 2010, she learned that her husband held many Tea Party ideals in high esteem, especially when it comes to limited government. I loved him, and I still love him, said Sproul Latimer, 31, but at the same time, I had to resist my first instinct, which was to say gross. Despite their growing political differences, they went through with the wedding. In 2012, Donald Rumsfeld, the former Secretary of Defense for who Latimer had worked, attended. Today, the couple share views on many social issues, especially when it comes to school choice and rights of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgendered people. But the Clinton-Trump contest has reopened old wounds. They were especially at odds in the early parts of the campaign when Trump was a fresh character on the political scene. I loved him when he first ran. Latimer said 45, a founding partner of Javelin, a literary agency and a communication firm. I thought he was hilarious. I loved the idea that he would drive everyone insane. I loved that he was pure chaos and total stream of consciousness. As Trump's momentum grew, the household showed signs of strain. Latimer cheered the unraveling of the party's establishment, and while not ready to jump on the Trump train, he said he was willing to give Trump a chance. One time he kept talking about how Trump was winning. Latimer said, recalling a discussion they had one night just before bed, and I just flew off the handle saying, "You're just trying to provoke me." And he said, "It's just a discussion. It's reality." These days, they try to stay away from discussing the campaign. We are treading a lot more lightly on politics at our home. Latimer said, in her view, a Trump presidency would be an utter disaster for the country. In his view, Sproul Latimer has become an unofficial surrogate for Hillary. Last month, as they watched the broadcast of the Democratic National Convention, things got tense. When Bill Clinton spoke, I would make some jokes about it, and she would laugh. Latimer said she would make some jokes, and I would laugh. And then it got to the point where maybe I was making too many jokes, and suddenly she just has decided to defend the Clintons, and then it's not funny anymore. Latimer's decision is still up in the air, but he knows one thing. He will not be voting for Clinton. But if she thinks by not supporting Trump I'll be moving in her direction, she's incorrect. We've supported different candidates before and will continue to do so. That said, if for any reason I would join the Trump train, it would disturb her. My joining it now is not impossible, but it is extremely unlikely. Married couples aren't the only ones who find themselves unable to discuss politics in this charged environment. The campaign has also had an effect on people looking for love. According to Maria Avgididis, who runs the Manhattan matchmaking service, a Gape Match, she said politics has never been a big issue in her line of work until now. When she asked her clients to give her a list of their deal breakers, she said the first is smoking, the second, for the moment, is supporting Trump. He's creating obstacles that I haven't seen in the last 10 years, she says. I'm having men saying I'm having a really great time with her, but she's a Trump supporter and I'm not interested. Or she's a Republican, I feel she's going to vote for Trump, and I'm not interested in being with someone like that. I'm hoping this will all kind of dissolve after November, but what if it doesn't? Soon after learning that her husband was not backing away from his decision to support Trump, McGuire picked him up at work. She was livid. In the car, she asked him how he would actually vote, how he could actually vote for Trump after everything that has happened, and when did she have to hear, and why did she have to hear about it from a reporter? Stolzer replied that the checks and balances were in place that would keep President Trump from putting the country in any real danger. Following the talk in the car, they found themselves at an impasse, but the next few days saw Trump doubling down on his criticisms of some Muslims, I guess, who had appeared at the Democratic National Convention on behalf of their son, Captain Khan, who died protecting his fellow soldiers in 2004 car bombing in Iraq. While that story dominated the news cycle, Stolzer told his wife that to salvage his intellectual reputation, he may have to change his mind. Soon after that, he told her he planned to vote for the Libertarian ticket, a vote that, in his view, would not matter in left-leaning Massachusetts. but one that his conscience and marriage could withstand. The good news is they're not getting divorced. As far as I'm concerned, McGuire said, we're in a better place both as a couple and as a country with one less vote for Trump. Now, this is going on all over the place. These are supposed to be intellectuals. That's why I read through all of this stuff. This stuff is put out to Joe Average, okay? These people, these university people, these professional people are really the epitome of idiots, okay? They're dumber than the guy living in the swamp. I mean, they truly are stupider than the guy living in the swamp. The guy living in the swamp can see through garbage much quicker than these clowns. These clowns have been so manipulated through their schooling and through their careers, they're idiots. Absolute freaking idiots. Then they put this forward, you know, if you vote for Trump, I'm getting divorced, right? Well, that's just to jack this up a little bit. Now, I ain't voting for Trump, and I ain't voting for Clinton. I ain't voting for anybody. You know, so, well, you're in Canada, you can't vote. Well, I don't know. I could come down there and be an immigrant, and apparently I don't need any ID to vote in the United States now. So probably I could come down there and vote. But I wouldn't come down there and vote because only an idiot would vote. These people are so wrapped up. In one point in the story actually says it's reality. There's nothing real about this. It's total fantasy. It's always been fantasy. But these jackasses, these Harvard and Yale and these so-called super educated people have been educated into a point or to a point where their brains don't function. These are some of the dumbest ass people on the planet. They are some of the most dangerous people on the planet because these are the clowns that end up in positions of so-called authority. And you're supposed to respect them because they're professionals. If you get sucked into that, then you've been sucked into fool land. Anyways, I just want to do that because I didn't know it was that long a story. But this is just how ridiculous this has become. Now, I saw something go by that some people are blaming Trump, apparently, for this Ayman's shooting at a mosque in Queens in early afternoon on Sunday. My question is, what the hell is a mosque doing in Queens? That's my first question. What the hell is a mosque doing in Queens? I just don't savvy. Anyways, police in New York City are searching for the man who fatally shot the leader of a mosque and a friend as they left afternoon prayer, setting off fear and anguish among the communities of Bangladeshi Muslim immigrants, although police said no motive has been established for the killing. I can't pronounce these people's name. Akon G, 54, and 64-year-old Udin, Saturday afternoon near the Al Furqan James Mazdik. I mean, this is America. Where the hell are these names coming from? Anyways, community members worried the slayings could be rooted in intolerance. See, you have to be tolerant of everything they dump in your lap in your neighborhoods. You can't speak up. You can't push back. You just have to lay there like a worm on the wet ground and be tolerant. You ain't the problem, okay? This nonsense of intolerance, that's the problem. There's nothing in the preliminary investigation to indicate that they were targeted because of their face, said Deputy Inspector Henry Saunter of New York Police Department. The daughter of the Ayman, said her father, described by worshippers as a pious man who gave compelling readings from the Quran, didn't have any problems with anyone. Well, apparently he pissed somebody off. She said the Ayman and the Udin were close friends who always walked together to the mosque from their homes on the same street. Police said the men were shot in the head as they left the mosque in the Ozone Park section of Queens shortly before 2 p.m. They later were pronounced dead. Both men were wearing traditional religious attire, and Akoji Akonji was carrying about $1,000 in cash, but the money wasn't taken. Police released a sketch early Sunday of a dark-haired, bearded man wearing glasses. Police said witnesses described the shooter as a man with a medium complexion. No arrests have been made by early Sunday. Members of the Muslim community served by the mosque in the working-class neighborhoods said they want the shootings to be treated as a hate crime. More than 100 people attended a rally Saturday night and chanted, "We want justice." The Council on American Islamic Relations, an advocacy group, held a news conference near the shooting scene where Kober Chowdhury, a leader of another local mosque, said, "Read my lips." Huh? I'm a Muslim, buddy. Read my lips. Read them lips. This is a hate crime directed at Islam. We are peace-loving. We were created by the Jews and the Catholic frickin' Church and the Zionists, and we are peace-loving. This is a hate crime. Sound a little anti-Semitic? That's exactly what it is. Okay? Out comes the Jew template. He has no idea this is a hate crime. Okay? Maybe the imam slept with his 8-year-old daughter, and the guy's pissed off about it. Now, I could suppose that would be a hate crime, but that would be not really a hate crime. That would be getting an even crime. That'd be an eye for an eye crime. Okay? There is no evidence anywhere that this is a hate crime. They didn't pin a tag on the guy's back. I shot this guy in the head because, well, it's a hate crime. There's no evidence that it's a hate crime. Somebody got shot. But you got what is this? The Council of American Islamic Relations. It's the same as the ADL, right? Same garbage, same template, right? And you're supposed to be tolerant to this. You're supposed to lay down. You're supposed to feel bad about this. Because it's a hate crime directed at Islam. Well, last night on the show, went through some of these videos, and I think it was in Alaska, where the council is praying, doing a satanic prayer, praying to Satan and Islam. Okay? Satan and Islam. Same shit. Okay? America is a Christian nation. That's who came to America. Okay? Those who left their homelands were Christians who came to get away from the garbage that they were putting up with in their homelands, to make a fresh start, to get away specifically from the Pope and the King. To get away from that nonsense. Islam, the Jews, and the Zionists, and the Catholic Church are all satanic. We say, well, the Jews aren't satanic. Well, they killed Jesus, right? So I'm just going to wrap them right in there with this. It's the Jews who are perpetrating multiculturalism. And what is multiculturalism? Well, geez, that would be part of the Islamic migration into the country. Multiculturalism, where everyone must be tolerant. Okay? They're deviants. Okay? Now, I'm not saying every Jew's a deviant. I'm saying the leadership is deviant. Now, I'm sure there's lots of Muslims that wouldn't hurt a fly. That's not the point. The leadership is dangerous. And people follow their leadership. So to call this a hate crime when there's no evidence of anything that could attach this to a hate crime is pulling the Jew card, I call it, I guess, the Jew template. You know, this is a hate crime directed at Islam. This is a hate crime directed at the Jews. We are peace-loving. Really? Well, who are these Muslims that are running around, yammering away about Allah knocking heads off people. Are these the non-peaceful Muslims? And how the hell am I supposed to know a non-peaceful Muslim from a peaceful Muslim? Like you got a stamp on your forehead or something? Do not be afraid. I am a peaceful Muslim. Versus, run, you crazy Christian, because I'm going to knock your freaking head off, Muslim. Now, we don't have some distinguishing mark on these clowns to distinguish who's peaceful and who's not. Then one in a defensive mode would say, we're going to have to wrap you all up into the same package. This is an invasion. It's a spiritual war that we're in. I mean, I watched this thing last night. I think it was in Arizona. No, Pensacola, Florida, was it? It was a very long video. It was like way over an hour. Trying to discuss what they're going to do about prayer in the council chambers. And, you know, I listened to this so-called Christian woman, this God-fearing woman who, well, you know, what am I going to do? You know, so I really can't put down anybody else's faith. Well, actually, yeah, you can, right? But no, we have to be tolerant. So they went through all this stuff, went on forever. And it looks like in the end they voted no prayer, okay? Because that's what they're trying to get out of there. Every single council in the West and the East, okay, is pushing the UN globalist, corporate, satanic agendas. It's called global to local. And your local councils are to move out the Christians. Your local councils are supposed to move out the idea of your constitutions so that they can get what they want in here, and that's the world constitution and the world religion. All of it is satanic. And so now some of these councils are actually doing satanic prayers before a council meeting begins in your local neighborhood. Now you say, well, ours doesn't do that. No, but if they remove the prayer, okay, in order not to upset some other faith, then they've done exactly the same thing. Okay? They've done the same thing. It's just a little less in your face, but it's the same idea. Now, if you want to hang on to your countries here in the West, people better wake the hell up really quick. Anyways, I'm going to deal with this story a little bit more here. Let me go. Sarah Saeed, a member of Mayor Bill de Blasco's staff who serves as liaison to Muslim communities, attended the rally. I understand the fear because I feel it myself. I'm fearful, she said. I understand the anger, but it's very important to mount a thorough investigation. Lynetta James, who is the city's public advocate, serves as a watchdog over city agencies, said in a statement, this violence is as alarming as it is senseless. She urged the police department to vigorously investigate the slayings. Members of the community have felt animosity lately with people cursing while passing the mosques, said worshiper Shah Chowdhury. He said he had advised people to be careful walking around, especially in traditional clothing. He called the imam a wonderful person with a voice that made his Quran readings especially compelling. Worshiper Millet Unden said Akoji had led the mosque for about 2 years and was a very pious man. The community's heart is totally broken, said Uden, who is not related to the dead Uden. It's a great misery. It's a great loss to the community, and it's a great loss to the society. Nani Man Akunji, 28, one of the Iman's 7 children, said she rushed to her parents' home after the shooting. She said her father was carrying a man who would call, carrying was a caring man who would call her just to check up on whether she had eaten properly. Neighbors who also describe Udin as a pious and thoughtful man who prayed 5 times a day and went to the mosque. While at home, they said he would water his garden and one next door. A very honest, wise man and a very helpful guy, said neighbor Muhammad Udin, who is not a relation to the other Udins. They must only have a few names, do they, in the Muslim world? I don't know. But apparently, this has something to do with Donald Trump somehow. I guess as Donald Trump is getting people angry with the Muslims, and so whoever pulled the trigger wouldn't have pulled the trigger if it hadn't been for Trump. This is chaos extreme that's going on in the West right now. Absolute, total freaking chaos. And if you go back, I think it was 1999, Baden-Baden, Germany, or I think that's where it was, where Rockefeller said, our window of opportunity is only going to be open for a short time. Okay, so we gotta ramp this up. We gotta really ramp this up. Okay, so we got Al Gore puking off about the world's going to end because of global warming. We've got the takedown of Iraq. We've got the bombings in Afghanistan. We've got the threats of Iran, which are all totally false. Everything's false, 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 false. The mass murders in Syria, the stress between Israel and Palestine, and all this nonsensical political garbage, and the mass immigration's coming in. This is chaos on steroids. And, people running around to put out the fires in that. You got to get to the root of the fire, and the root of the fire is your local council. Okay? That's where you stomp it out, because that's where the fire is. The fire's in your neighborhood. Okay, you gotta get control of these damn local councils, because if you don't get control of them, okay, the Satanists are already got control of your local councils and have had for a very, very long time. And they're amoral as hell. And we got to get some morals back into this game. And the only way you're going to get them in is to put your $100 down and run for your local council. Because if you don't run for your local council, guess what? It's going to be full of immigrants and migrants. Then you're shit out of luck. Plain and simple. And we'll just carry on complaining. Because that's what we do in the West. We got fat and lazy and stupid. And all we know how to do now is complain. We don't know how to step up to any plate, anywhere, anytime, anymore. And that has got to change. Meanwhile, here in Ontario, Canada, Ontario considers more changes to how gender is displayed on government ID. The government was launched a public consultations to look at how gender is displayed on forms and documents. Oh, God. Ontario is considering more changes to the collection and display of gender information on government documents not long after announcing gender-neutral driver's license and health cards. Public consultations launched earlier this month look at how gender information is treated on government forms, identification documents, including birth and marriage certificates. A preamble to an online survey says people with transgender and non-binary gender identity may face barriers and other negative outcomes when trying to access services, so the government wants to ensure its policies are inclusive. Ontario has already announced that starting in early 2017, drivers will be able to select an X instead of an M or an F. People can also now obtain health cards without sex information displayed on the front of the card. There's more work to be done on this, so we're reaching out to Ontarians to make sure we develop good policy that the government can use to make appropriate decisions about when and how to collect, retain, use, display information about persons' sex and gender. Christine Burke, a spokeswoman for the Government and Consumer Services Ministry, said in a statement. Trans advocate Susan Gappa would like to see sex and gender not displayed on birth certificates. The type of changes the government is contemplating are relatively easy and low cost to achieve, but mean so much to the community, she said. I was born again, so to speak, 20 years ago, Gappa said. Now I have to renew my health card. And having the correct or accurate way that I feel best describes me as female is really, really important to me. In fact, I had to change laws. We had to change laws and change society opinions so I could do that. The consultation survey says the government is proposing to collect gender information as the default and sex information only if needed. For example, sex is necessary for the Ontario Health Insurance Program, it says. Greater use of the X as a gender identifier is possible on other identifications, such as photo ID cards for people who do not have a driver's license. And the consultation document says the government wants to see a consistent process for people who identify as trans or non-binary, defined as people who don't identify themselves exclusively as male or female. We also want to propose a policy where once you change your sex information on your Ontario birth registration, you can use your birth certificate to change your sex information for any other government ID, it says. The survey says ask participants what they think are good reasons for collecting and displaying sex and gender information on government ID, such as identification, law enforcement, and fraud prevention, statistical evidence, healthcare, and personal safety, for example, to help someone access services at a shelter. If you don't have documents that say who you are, that can be really isolating, Gappa said. It can give you a feeling that you're not as good as everyone else and you're not as valued as everyone else, that people don't believe you. This is retarded. Now, these consultations are used, and people don't understand what these consultations are about. These cards are sent out, and people actually fill the stupid things out. Do you think it's appropriate to use an X for this? And the people sit there and they think, well, I don't know, Hazel. What do you think? Should we put the X there? I don't know. Well, we can't be intolerant, and and then the people fill this stuff out. Then the government says, okay, we got us a consensus. Boom. Been doing this forever. That's another template. But people keep getting suckered by this garbage. Okay? Now, I got this picture. There's two things that happen when a child is born. First of all, the doctor is going to slap the kid on the ass. Apparently that wakes them up. I don't know, clears their lungs out or whatever. But what people think, that's a slap on the ass. And what should be played every time a child is slapped on the ass after it's born? You should hear throughout the hospital, not just the room, but throughout the hospital, maybe the entire community. You should hear cha-ching when that hand hits that baby's ass. Because that baby is income for the so-called government, which is nothing more than a corporation. You're puking out product, and then you sign the product over, you register the product over to the corporation, and they now have the use of the product. So your kid is nothing but money to the so-called government. The other thing that I find rather humorous is, what is this? It used to be a child is born, and so you have a baby girl or a baby boy. Now they go, I don't know what the hell it is. Let's just mark an X on it. How freaking ludicrous things they got. And this stuff's in the paper day after day after day after day after day. Well, why not? It's called propaganda. How do you get the propaganda in the head? You repeat it over and over and over and over again. Pick up a magazine. Whatever the propaganda of the day is will be in the news, on the TV, on the radio, on the talk shows, in the movies, in the sitcoms. Everywhere you turn, taught to the children in the schools, taught to the people in the churches. Well, this is what the people want, says the government, so this is what we have to do. Well, it's not whether we want to do it. We have to do it because this is what the people want. And anybody that doesn't want it is an intolerant son of a bitch and should be hung in a tree somewhere. Okay? This has all got to stop. How are you going to stop it? You're going to run for your local government office, and you're going to take it, the council. You're going to get your ass on that council, and you're going to put your freaking foot down. Or you're not. But Trump ain't going to save your ass. Hillary Clinton ain't going to save your ass. And there's nobody coming. There's no superheroes. There are lots of superheroes in the fictional world because we live in a fictional world. In reality, there ain't no superheroes. The only hero there is you. That's it. And if you can't come to terms with your responsibilities, then, well, mark an X beside your ID. X like in I don't even exist. Bloody retarded. You know, I was thinking about these. I read a story last night about this woman in California, San Diego or somewhere, who had ALS and decided she's going to, because they passed the assisted suicide laws there. So apparently it had a poster bed up on a hill somewhere. Where when her friends and that came and had their last day, and then she's escorted up to this poster bed on a hill somewhere, right out of a frickin' Fellini movie, and put down, And I thought, this is nothing more than satanic ritual, okay? That's what it is. This pride parade crap, that's all satanic garbage, right? We're being overrun with this nonsense, and we need to push it back. ASAP. Now here's a poor son of a bitch. Here's a guy in Toronto, and he could be anywhere. I mean, I read a story about another guy who's been I think he's been arrested 60 times, something like that, down in the States somewhere, just trying to go to work. Black dude. Been working at the same place for a long time. The customers love him. His employers love him. Seemingly a great guy, but he can't seemingly get from home to work without getting pulled over and either arrested or searched or harassed. It's bloody retarded. Okay, but these cops are it's all satanic. It is all satanic. So they picked this guy out here in Toronto. Dale James is regularly stopped by Toronto police and is suing over it. The thing is, he's already reached a settlement with the cops after his 2013 suit. Dale James talks slow and low, and due to a childhood accident, he is partially blind in his left eye, which is milky white. On a hot day in June, he arrives late at his lawyer's office and wears a Raptors cap and a two-pack T-shirt, which hangs off his thin frame. He's lost weight and has cut down on his trips to see a therapist for treatment of depression, even though it's getting worse, he says. After 16 years of being regularly stopped by police for the past, after 16 years of being regularly stopped by police for the last 2 months, James, 33, started staying home most days in a cramped apartment he shares with his mother on Wilson Avenue, Bathurst. That's a shithole down there. Either they're going to get me in trouble, he says to the police, or they're going to kill me. I'm just trying to avoid him. I can't take it anymore. In his latest legal ballad, James and his brother are suing Toronto police In a statement of claim filed late last year, they seek $2.2 million in damages, alleging an assault on James, racial profiling, arbitrary detention, search of James outside their apartment. They further allege police are terrorizing the entire family and have caused mental distress. In a statement of defense, the two named officers in the police service deny all allegations, including the allegation of racial profiling. Of course they would. There has already been one substantial settlement by Toronto Police with James, the details of which can't be disclosed, says Barnell. The settlement was a result of a 2013 lawsuit and a human rights complaint. Despite the settlement, Barrow says a message for police to leave his client alone doesn't seem to be getting through. Last year, he said James visited a high-ranking officer in 31 Division. It's a division in northwest Toronto where many of the stops have happened. It was agreed, says Burwell, that James' name would be flagged so officers would know the history. But he's still being harassed, says the lawyer. Police spokesman Megan Gray told the Star a mediated compromise that involved no admission of wrongdoing, resulting in a confidential resolution. This included the meeting with police that was intended to develop a more positive relationship with officers, 31 Division, and also provided James with resources to seek vocational and counseling assistance, Gray said in an email. Unfortunately, given the latest statement of claim filed by Mr. James, our efforts seem to have been for naught, said Gray. James is indeed a police magnet. He provided the Star with details of 43 encounters with Toronto Police from April 2006 to the November 2015. They were gleaned from multiple Freedom of Information requests he made. He believes there are many more and says he's appealing to Ontario's Information Privacy Commissioner. A Star analysis of contact card data from 2008 to 2012 shows James is correct, finding 32 encounters that appear to involve him. 50 more than what he obtained in his personal request for that period. Of the 32 encounters, 16 were for vehicle stops or vehicle-related, 11 were for general investigation. Police say all responsive records would have been provided to Dale, but the service was unable to confirm the exact encounters since the FIO request and response are purged after 2 years. However, the service does not dispute there have been many more contacts. Reporter Star analysis of Toronto Police contact data cards have shown black people are more likely than white people to be documented in each of the city's 70-plus police zones. Carding, the capture of personal details from non-criminal stops in a massive police database was suspended in 2015 by then-Chief Bill Blair. Community groups said the stops have not stopped in January. Provincial regulations aimed at doing away with arbitrary stops fully kick in. Although James lives in 32 Division, many of his stops were recorded in neighboring 31 Division, where he would often go to visit a former girlfriend. Police said James make fun of. Police, says James, make fun of how he talks and describe him as having a stink eye, dead eye, one eye, or a glass eye, although he does have some sight in his damaged left eye, on Triad. James says he has been arrested several times and handcuffed and had police guns pointed at him 10-plus times. He says he was once charged with assault, but says he was acquitted and has never been convicted of a crime. He said he's been accused of stealing scrap tires when collecting and was part of his work. He said he's had his license plate on the family car run by police and been detained on false information, been followed, harassed, and in one encounter was told by an officer that he must be a drug dealer because his hands don't look like they do any work. Most of the time he says he's questioned, documented, and let go, and according to his rights complaint that got settled, left feeling bullied, profiled, and humiliated. Many of the encounters involved officers from the controversial Toronto Anti-Violence Investigation Strategy unit, which is to be mothballed. In police negotiations on James' contact card paperwork that he obtained, officers described him as anti-police and confrontational. James told the Star he's not anti-police, but after all these years, does not trust them. He says he was once inspired to become a police officer like his father, who served in St. Vincent James' birth country. So, this, I guess what I'll do is I'll set up a $2.2 million lawsuit too against the police, which we're working on. No, we haven't come up with a number yet. But the number of times that the police have been here at my home, gaggles of them sometimes, harassing and intimidating, and I'm not afraid of the police. I find them rather silly. But like the drive walking up the street, and the cop comes down the street and in his car, and sees me and a buddy walking up the street, and we're going to cross as soon as his car goes by, and he goes by with the horn hand signal up against the window as he goes by us. I find it rather silly, I mean these people need to be reined in, and once you've been targeted. They put the target to you. And what I found here was, unfortunately, people in this town who, and I'm sure it happens in town, well, I see it because they shoot them all the time, a mentally retarded man or someone with Down syndrome or something, seems to be targets for these police. This guy here apparently has, is a little slow talker, he's got a bad eye, and for some reason, it's a magnet for the police. See all kinds of incidences where the police. Actually, I had someone. I have two houses on this property, and I was renting it to a lady, the other house, and a friend of hers had a son, a young guy, a little slow, nice guy though, but a little slow. And they had targeted him, and if he looked crooked, they would haul his ass off to jail. And so she was in jail at the time for nothing, and I don't even think they had any charges laid against him. So the lady who was renting the house asked me if it would be okay if they could get him out. They were worried for his safety. And if they could get him out, it would be okay if he stayed at our other house that she was renting. So we had some discussions on it, and I said, well, you're going to be a responsible party, and so I talked to the mother of the young guy, and we worked it out, and he moved in. And, he was fine. A little slow, but he was a decent guy. And I remember one night I was here, and I could see a cop wandering around in the yard. And I'm thinking, what's he doing here? And he was looking for, I don't remember what the guy's name was, the young guy, but he was looking for him. I said, what are you looking for him for? Well, it's a community policing thing. We have to keep track of him. He's supposed to be at home. What do you mean he's supposed to be at home? I said, I think they went, this was around Christmas time. I said, I think they all took the van and went to look at the Christmas lights. Oh, well, he's supposed to be here. Why? I mean, this is what they do. Once they target you, you're targeted. Now, I was harassed constantly by these people. If I went to a council meeting, I always had a cop right on my ass. If I went somewhere else in the building, if I left the council chambers and went out into the main entryway, everywhere I went, I had a cop tailing me with a gun. Right? Not tailing anybody else, just tailing me. Now, I haven't done nothing wrong. Except speak the truth. And, of course, truth is the enemy of the state, and the state is satanic, so I guess it makes sense for them to follow me around. And, harassments constantly. Now, it wasn't until after I went to the police board, after this last big incident, and clued them in. And then the last time they were here, I actually had to poke one of them, and he was just threatening to arrest me, and I had to give him a little poke, and explain that he needed to get his car and get gone, and the other cop needed to get in their car and get gone, and don't ever come near this place again. And it seemed to work. I haven't seen a cop around here since. And now we're going to have to go and get our restitution off of these clowns. We cannot allow them to continue this on other people. They will push as hard as they can until they're forced to back down, and then they'll just go pick on somebody else. And it's, and the government's always yammering on about bullying, right? We don't like bullies. We don't like bullies. Well, wait a minute. You are the bullies, right? You are the bullies. You don't like bullies, then jump off the planet, because you, not the people, are the problem. I'm really taken with this satanic prayer in the council chambers. I mean, I watched here in Ontario years ago when they were taking the Lord's Prayer out of the legislature, and they gave all these reasons about we can't give preference to one faith over another faith, and separation of state and church and all this kind of stuff, and just get it out of there. And once they got that out of there, then the sex ed changed, and it's getting more ridiculous all the time. The gay pride movement really kicked into high gear, because the moral safety valve's been removed, more or less, and then we got to get it back. Now, again, I don't care, right? I don't really care what anybody thinks or what anybody does. But, the idea is to live and let live. I get that, right? But when you're impeding my life, which is what's going on, if you're straight and of moral value, which is law, if that's where you're standing at, you're odd man out. Even though that's supposedly what these nations were built upon. This was the foundation that they were built upon. Now you're odd man out. What was the purpose of the public school system? Okay, to get rid of that. Okay, to turn you from men and women put here by your Creator into animals that evolved from this and that and the other thing into your present situation. And anybody that, the whole public school system, you can go back as far as you want. One of the main purposes besides keeping knowledge away from people, was to move away from the idea of a creator to evolution. Because if you evolve from an animal, i.e. an ape, well, then you're just an animal. You're not a man. Okay? Animals do not have a moral value. Okay? They're just what they are. And once they get you into the position of evolution, then you basically gave up your position of being a man. If you're not a man, then you have basically no rights. Okay? You have no rights. You're just a farm animal. And they use your labor, and they extract benefit from your labor, and they can basically do whatever the hell they want with you. And that's the legal system. The legal system is a system, amoral system, a satanic system, The legal system, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The legal system is a satanic system. It says so. It's an adversarial system. The courts are adversary, and adversary means Satan. And you're an animal. So they take you down to the altar, or not the altar, I guess the altar, the courthouse, and they sacrifice your ass. Okay? You got no rights in a court. Okay? Because they don't recognize the man. So instead of a blood sacrifice, I guess it's a labor sacrifice, a financial sacrifice. But it's still a sacrifice. They drag your ass in there and you got no rights. They can do whatever the hell they want with you in there. I mean, there's people sitting in jails all over the place for a joint or stealing a slice of pizza. Meanwhile, they had people, the authorities can do some pretty strange, outrageous things and never spend a day in jail. Why would that be? Because it's a fair system? No, it's a money system. It's a corporate system, and a corporate system is a satanic system because it's a dead entity. In law, you have to sign nothing. In the legal system, you sign everything. Every time you sign, you're signing over part of your soul until you completely lose your way. And then you think that all of these things that are going on here now are fine and dandy. They're not. Okay? We have been lied to and coerced and deceived since the day that doctor heard that cha-ching when he slapped you on the ass. And then they looked lovingly at your mother and said, what a lovely little X, I guess is what they say now. Because they're probably going to have to call everybody X now when they're born, because if the doctor should call it a boy or a girl, and down the road, the kid watching the cartoon or show or something says, oh, I want to be a girl, Mommy. Well, maybe the doctor discriminated against the child when the child was born. So don't be surprised if all children born now are X's. Okay? Because we got to be tolerant and we don't want to make a mistake. So the safe place is X. Because you never know down the road what that kid's going to do. People used to be born male and female and die male and female. Now, well, they could want to be anything at any time. They may change their mind 47 times throughout their lifespan, so we better just mark it. And X marks the spot. Boom. You've been signed. Okay? You've been signed. So then they go to your mother and they tell your mother what a lovely little X, and the little X deserves an education and benefits, and so do you, and register the child, and the child will get a wonderful X education, and we'll help you with the expenses of the child. Just sign here. X. Got you again. Now that you've registered the child, we'll give you a certificate. Not the certificate, a copy of the certificate. We keep in a real sucker because that's cha-ching. And now you're our slave forever. How do we get conned into this garbage in the first place? Because most people are trusting. I think it says somewhere in the Bible, and I'm not sure. I suppose I could look it up. But I think there's something in there that says, trust no man. And let no man deceive you. That I'm certain of, the last one. But I think there's something in there about trust no man. And so we're taught to be trusting of those who put themselves in a position of false authority, the deceivers. We depend on them to give us honest information. We depend on them to look after us and our families, that they know best. After all, they're the educated ones, they're the knowledgeable ones, and apparently they're smarter than you or I, and therefore we must just accept what they give us to deal with. So we're easily deceived, we're easily propagandized, and we're easily conned. And all you got to do is look around and go, yep, oh, we certainly are. And this is the result of it. So can we really bitch too much about them? They just did what they knew how to do, and that was to turn us into chattel for their benefit, turn us into slaves for their benefit. It's no different than animal farm, really. And they got us living in this little fantasy world, and we're fearful all the time of these authorities, just like in Alice in Wonderland and many other stories. And we call this our lives. I had a wonderful life. I had a difficult life. I had a fulfilling life. I had an unfulfilling life. You never had a life because you're living in a freaking fantasy. I just want people to get back to reality. Okay? We need to deal with what we need to deal with. We need to look out for our families. We need to understand a con when it's presented to us. We need to understand what propaganda is and what it's used for. We need to understand that trust is something that you don't just give over. Trust has to be earned. Okay? And none of this so-called trust we give the government has been earned. It's all been through deceit. And we've been played like a cheap fiddle. And that has to stop. So how are you going to stop it? You have to become involved. You have to step up to the plate. You know? We have to take back control of what belongs to us. You live in these wonderfully rich nations, of which they're in the process of destroying, and they've always been phony. I mean, they did try in the beginning. The people that came from their homelands to North America came for specific reasons, and that was to get away from the tyranny of which they found themselves under, the deceptions and the deceits, where they were used as chattel and cattle, enslaved. That's not the way your life is supposed to operate. So they had an opportunity to get out from under it. And they did their damnedest. And they almost succeeded. But then we end up rolling back right into the same position we were before our forefathers left their lands to get out from underneath the tyranny. And here we are, worse than ever. So I'm a firm believer that somewhere in our bloodlines, we still have the strength of our forefathers embedded in us. And we have to bring that to the fore, and we have to put our feet down. We have to kick this tyranny straight between the eyeballs. Kick it down. I mean, all you got to do is look at how far we disintegrated into stupidity. There's nothing better than these elections that are going on in the United States, the one that just took place in Canada. Although you can't in either country have an election because nobody can vote. Just a fictional vote for the fictional government by the fictional people. And none of it can operate without you. So we're the ones that register our fictional entity, because the fictional entity can't do a damn thing by itself. So we animate the fiction. We act as agents of the fiction. This has got nothing to do with real life. And then all of these fictional things that you vote for, say, are not responsible. Why? Because it's fictional. But they tag you to the fiction and make you responsible for all the debt and all the wrongs. Well, the fictional government just has some fun. Killing, deceiving, screwing people over. But they're absolutely not responsible because, well, it's fictional. And that has to change. Real men are responsible. Real men do not have to hide behind the fictional characters of the corporate world. Real men stand up and are responsible for their decisions, for any harm they've done. But these aren't real. It's all fiction. But they tag it to your ass, and you suffer from it. It's so easy to fix when you think about it, you know. I mean, when you really just sit down and logically think about it for a minute, the solution is so simple. Take it back. Take it back and rid ourselves of this fictional thing that's attached to our backs. Let's get rid of it. You know, we can either all just get together and say, you know what, we're on to it, you know, it doesn't apply to us, but you got to have enough bodies to do that. They're coming. It's getting better. But they're pushing so freaking hard here now that, you know, they're really watering down our position. 120 some different languages spoken in the city of Toronto or the greater Toronto region, which is absolutely ridiculous. Those people are getting onto city councils all over the place. And if we don't go get it, they're going to get it. And if they get it, we're screwed. We do have responsibilities. And we got to step up to the plate and be responsible for our lands, our resources, our people, children. You know, I saw some people complaining about the sex education and that in the schools and the ridiculous stuff they're trying to teach to these little wee children. Well, then, if you have the capacity to complain about it, then you know there's something wrong with it. So get responsible and pull your kid the hell out of there. If you're that concerned about what's being taught to your child and you leave your child in the school, then you, mommy, daddy, are guilty of child abuse. You're complaining about it, but you're turning a blind eye to it at the same time. It's easier to turn a blind eye and leave your child with these pedophiles and that because you don't want to take responsibility. Who's at fault? The school system? You are. You're the responsible party. That's your child. pull the kid. I hear people complaining all the time about vaccinations. Same thing. One, don't take the damn thing. Well, I might lose my job if I don't take the vaccination, or they won't let my child go to school if they don't take the vaccination. Wake the frig up and get responsible. You were born with I don't understand how this is so difficult for people. You were born with them. You have a body that works pretty simple. You're going to get some childhood diseases. You're going to get better. It's going to build your immune system. You're going to eat good food and drink clean water. And chances are you're going to live a very long, healthy, bright-minded life. I don't see how that's so difficult. No, let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. Let's take a whole bunch of vaccines which actually weaken our immune system and put all kinds of junk into our system that somewhere down the road is going to collide with the other junk that you've been putting in your system, and it's going to cause damage. Either you're going to be damaged very young, or down the road you're going to start to fall apart. But let's just take all the vaccines because, well, we have weak immune systems, say the medical profession. And then let's go and eat unhealthy food. Let's go eat what looks like food, but the proteins and the vitamins and the minerals have been so depleted in them, it's just you might as well go eat plastic carrots. So let's continue to take the vaccines and eat this garbage food and fill and wash it down with some garbage water full of fluoride and plastic and all the rest of the crap. And guess what? You're not going to live a long, healthy, bright-minded life. It's that freaking simple. You know, when I was talking to the farmer and he bought a piece of land, and it took him, I can't remember what he said, it was 7 or 14 years, maybe it was 7, it was at least 7 years, but it could have been 14. That long in order to cleanse the land that had been used with this so-called, new farming way, okay, to cleanse the land, to get it back into a position where it was capable of growing real food. And real food has all the protein, vitamins, minerals that your body requires. And therefore, you're not going to get sick. You're not likely going to get depressed. You most definitely are not going to need oil-based pharmaceuticals. I mean, if you look okay, let's look at some data. You want data? All you got to do is go look at those who lived in the country, lived on the farms. These people worked hard, ate well, and an awful lot of them were very well read. A lot of people don't understand that. A lot of these people out in the countryside are extremely well-read people. But I mean, if I look at my own family history, most of my family lived to be not only what would be considered quite old, but they were sharp as a frickin' tack. Okay? That's the other part. How sharp is your mind? Okay? Is your mind being dulled down by these vaccinations? Is your mind being dulled down by staring at the media all the time? Is your mind being dulled down by the subpar food that you're putting into your bodies? You know? And all the junk that goes in there. Junk in, junk out. Right? And that's all there is to it. So it's really, really quite simple. But in order to do this, we have to regain control of our lands. It's the lands that keep you healthy. We got to get it back. We're the ones that have to become the administrators of the lands in our particular areas. This idea that your local council has its hands tied somehow because they're a creation of the province or the state and therefore are in the child position, are therefore bound to do the bidding of the state or the province, is the most ridiculous thing I ever heard of in my life. Instead of doing what they're trying to do is build bigger and bigger and bigger regions, we got to reverse it back to the way it was so that your region is small, self-contained, self-reliant, people looking out for each other, okay? Not these bureaucratic dickweeds from somewhere you never heard of or some committee telling you how you're going to do something in your neighborhood. That has got to end. We have to get control back. And how do you get control back? I know people are sick and tired of me saying this. But the fact of the matter is, you're going to have to get up off your butts and run in your local election. And you need to bring enough people with you so that you can get hold of majority vote. And then and only then, when the state or the province says that we require that you remove the left nut of every newborn male in your community, you now have the power to tell them to go shove off. And they say, well, you can't tell us to shove off. You're in the child position. We can come and remove you people and put people in that will do as we say. No, we just ceded from you clowns. Okay? We're cutting you loose. This is our land. This is our neighborhood. It does not belong to the state. It does not belong to the province. It belongs to the bloody people. And if what you, the state, or the province, or the feds try to implement into our neck of the woods that we see to be negative, we're just going to tell you, shove off. And we will protect our neighborhoods. And we will make sure we're getting proper food and proper knowledge. And take your damn vaccines and shove them where the sun don't shine. That's what has to be done. And people say, well, we can't do any of that stuff. And you go, oh God, I hate this. Why? Why can we not do this? Of course we can do this. The only reason we can't do this is because we've eaten too much bad food. We've had too many vaccinations. We've drank too much fluoride. Got too much plastic in our systems. That's the only reason we can't do anything. Okay? They basically nutted the men. The men don't know how to stand up anymore. It's too people. I mean, I remember them old movies. I'm repeating myself a lot today about tough luck. I remember the old movies where the kid was taught to defend his land, his family, from the age probably 8 years old and up. You know, I remember these old, you know, somebody's coming down the laneway and the family's gone and the kid meets him in the laneway with a shotgun or a rifle or whatever, and he stands his ground, legs spread, and says, "What's your business?" They were men. At a very, very early age, they were taught the responsibilities at a very, very young age. Now, you can talk to 30-year-old people, and you might as well be talking to a 12-year-old. This is what they've done to the people. We need to reverse that. Oh, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't fight City Hall. They'll just do whatever they want. You know, by the time anybody could do it, they'll be old and dead anyways. It's just so freaking pathetic and sad. Everybody out there is complaining about Soros. Everybody out there is complaining about Rockefeller. Everybody out there complaining about Rothschild. Everybody out there complaining about the Crown. Do any of them really matter? Do any of them really have any power over us? Well, they run all the banks and everything, and they got the medical and the education. Well, so what? Start anew. Start anew. Just forget about them. Forget about them. We're either going to have to go and take the local councils and get control there, or we're going to have to start. And I said this years ago in a talk, long, long time ago in a talk. We're either going to have to wrestle this back, or we're going to have to start a parallel society. A society of men and women, not a society of persons. You start a society of men and women of law, not legal persons. Men and women of law, not a moral legal system, but a moral lawful system. Then forget that we ever seen this other system. Both of these ways to go about this are going to take some responsible men and women, and it's going to take some people with a good, strong spine and a good mind. And it's going to take people that will get on side with this, or we lose. And we all have all of this fear-mongering going on out there. What happens if we lose? So we basically know what the intended outcome of our loss would be. Now, if that don't inspire people to stand up and get their ass in gear, I don't know what will. I mean, are we so far gone in our capacity now that we can only do what we're told to do? You know, do we not have any pushback in us at all? I mean, they got our backs up against the wall. You can put a mouse up against the wall, and the mouse is going to come at you if he's got his back against the wall that bad. Any animal will come at you if you get it backed into a wall hard enough, because it understands the peril that it is in. But man doesn't seem to know that anymore. You know, whatever happened to flight or fight? There's nowhere to flight to. There's nowhere to go. Not like your forefathers said, let's get the hell out of here. Somebody found a chunk of land across the water. Let's go there and start over. There's nowhere left to go. There is no new land to get to. So you can't flee. You can't use your flight thought process. So you got your back against the wall, and we're cowering in fear. Animals don't do that. They will make an attempt to fight back. They will make an attempt to get away from what threatens them. But man, at this point in time, well, nothing we can do about it. Want to get a pizza? I mean, holy crap. Holy crap. That is really sad. I don't want to get in trouble. You are in trouble. You're in so much damn trouble, you have your eyeballs in it. You know? We can't seem to get our backs up enough. Because I think what they've done is they've basically removed our moral capacity. I think that's probably the biggest problem. I think we've lived in this amoral system so long that we've lost our moral compass. We've lost the idea of what is right and what is wrong. We've lost this idea that we have a responsibility. We got to go back there. I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever that moral men and women can shove this back pretty damn fast. But they have to commit themselves to it. You know, are we sick and tired of these ever increasing number of ways they can control your life and pick your pockets and keep the boot on your neck? Are we not sick and tired of that yet? A moral man doesn't have to deal with any of this stuff. A moral man's life is very free. A moral man knows his responsibilities. A moral man knows right from wrong. But in the amoral system, right and wrong's got nothing to do with anything. Well, we made this new rule. Yeah? And now you owe us this much money. Yes, I know you used to go to work like this and you used to do that, but now you got to wear a vest, which means you got to buy a vest because our friends are making vests, and you got to pay a fee. And if you don't do this, you get a ticket, which is another fee. Okay? And they just keep robbing you. And that's got to stop. Moral men do not rob each other. Moral men help each other. Moral men stand up beside each other for what is right. Moral men do not need a bank of lawyers. Moral men are the government. And we got to get there somehow. And I think the easiest way to do it at this point, with this so-called system that is in place, this amoral system that is in place, this satanic system that's in place that has enslaved us and deceived us for so long. Probably the easiest, fastest way to get a foothold in here so that we can start our moral pushback is to go put your $100 down and run in your local election. Even though the elections are completely phony, tough luck. The point is, you get a seat. You have a vote. But the point is, we have got to get the majority vote. Anything less than majority vote in local council is just going to make you have a pretty miserable 4 years. I mean, you can do some good work because once you're in there, you have much better access to the general public. And you can explain what it is you want to accomplish. But it's easier just to go in and snag right off the bat the majority vote. Once you got that majority vote, you can take your school board and take them aside and bitch slap them if necessary that this is not what's going to be taught to children in this neck of the woods. You have control over the taxes. You have control over the CAFR accounts. You can move from moral to amoral. You can take the lawyer and fire his ass out the door. You can take the city manager or the CAO, same thing, which is specifically trained in how to implement this UN globalist corporate satanic system into the local neighborhood. You can kick his ass out the door or her ass out the door immediately, get rid of them, and get back to a base. You're going to scare the hell out of the state level or the provincial level. And you get some intelligent people in there that understand right from wrong, understand moral from amoral. It ain't going to be much of a scrap between the state level and your level because they're going to have to back the hell out of there. Because you're going to be way too much trouble for them. And all we got to do is spread this one by one local community after another, local city, town council after another, and we will get these lands back. I mean, what's the whole point of the UN globalist corporate satanic move, global to local? Have the locals, councils implement our agenda, which gives all of the power, the resources, the authority to the global. Is that what you want? You got to get after these people at the local level. You got to get after them. Get on the phone. Phone your mayor. Phone your council and say, I ain't impressed with what you're up to, Jack. And you're going to put a stop to it. Because if you ain't going to put a stop to it, we are going to put a stop to it. Well, my hands are tied. That's what you're going to hear. My hands are tied. We're just in the child position. We were created by the state. We got to do what the state says. No, you don't actually have to do what the state says. And if this is how you're running our local area, not representing us, but doing what the globalists want you to do, which is detrimental to us, then you're out of there. See ya. And it's really not that difficult. They've used templates to entrap us and deceive us and take everything from us, and we just need to use a template to take it all back. That's simple. Very, very simple. And you will find that your stress level goes way down. You will find that the suicide rate goes way down. You will find that the happiness level goes way up. When I got a school here in my town where the kids can't play baseball because some jackass has designated a baseball bat as a weapon, and therefore the children can't play ball, shows how far this nonsense has gone. When you have police dressed up like military, bringing dogs, public schools in their high schools, we've gone too far. Well, we got kids who are afraid to have some fun, not even on the schoolyards, but outside of the schoolyards, where some teacher may see them having a little bit of fun or a fisticuff or whatever. That the kids believe these eyes are on them all the time, and if they get caught doing something not approved by the school, they will be marked, and somehow this will have a negative effect on their future careers. Time to get them the hell out of the schools. Time to build a new school or take over that school. And how do you take over the schools? You take over the school board. And how do you get a hold of the school boards? You run in the local elections. I mean, it's really, when you look at it, it's just way simple. It is so freaking simple. You know, all these people that are, you know, their go bags and their, you know, the seed they've collected and the AK-47s and the hideouts and all this nonsense, all of this effort and time and expense that's been put into that. They would put just a fraction of their energies into getting a hold of their local councils. They wouldn't need a freaking go bag. They wouldn't need a hideout. They wouldn't be living under these weird stresses that they live under. They'd have been fixing the problem. Anybody with a go bag and a hideout and a bunch of guns and that is a chicken shit. That's what they are. They're chicken shits. And they're not responsible. Well, when the shit hits the fan, I'm going to be out of here. Why are you letting the shit hit the fan? Why don't you just step up to the plate, put your frickin' name down, and take some control? Well, I don't want nothing to do with politics. I'm just sick of that shit. Really? What are you going to do? Run off to the hills? That's really bright. That's really brave. That's really responsible. I got no use for any of those people. Because you're just telling me you're a chicken shit. Because you ain't got the spine or the mind to stand up and do what you got to do. Way, way too simple. I mean, how many people are out talking to people in their neighborhoods explaining what's going on? And I know it's difficult. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. Oh, that's that conspiracy shit. You got to stay on them. Okay? You got to figure out a way to get in their brains. You know? Why are you giving your kids so many vaccinations? Well, they told me I got it. Well, yeah, but I mean, here's some stuff. Read this shit. Here's a movie. Look at this. Right? Think. Engage. Don't run. To where? People who run away are scaredy cats. People who hide out are scaredy cats. I think they used to call them yellow bellies. Men stand up. Men engage with each other. Men get responsible. And we better get to it pretty damn fast. Maybe once this monkey show is over. once maybe. I have never seen anything so ludicrous in my life as what's going on stateside right now. I mean, it's ludicrous what's going up here, but I mean, you guys are going to give you credit. I mean, the same thing is the same results are coming out of this. Make no mistake, okay? But but the American election has just amplified the lunacy to a point that I've never seen before. I don't think anybody's ever seen before. I mean, this is over the top, and it's good that it's over the top. It's phenomenal that it's as goofy as it is. You know, it's a marvelous thing. Unfortunately, like those wise people that I was talking about, these doctors and dentists and that I was talking about at the beginning of the show, right? We're talking about the politics and that, and they didn't have a clue about them. Not a clue. But it's gotten so over the top. I mean, the one guy in that story was talking about the checks and balances. Even if Trump gets in, we have a system of checks and balances. And this guy considers himself knowledgeable. He don't know jack shit. There is no checks and balances. And there hasn't been for a very, very long time. There was a time when I looked upon the American system as a system that should be held up for others to emulate. Because here in Canada, once someone's elected, they're basically going to be a benevolent or not benevolent dictator for the duration. Because we really don't have any checks and balances here. They can pretty well do what the hell they want, and they do. And that's why we were such a good marker to be a player in the United Nations. But South, you know, you got your Congress and you got your Senate and you got all this stuff there, you know, to checks and balances. There is no checks and balances. The president has executive order power. That makes that a dictatorship. The rest of it is just smoke and mirrors. And has been for an extremely long time. So this idea that you have a republic is bull. This thing about a democracy is Roman. So your democracy is really nothing more than a demonocracy. You don't have a republic. Okay, and why people keep conning themselves into believing that they do is it's a sign of not wanting to step up to the plate and take responsibility. That's what that is. But I got a really bad feeling that ain't nobody going to win this election. I hope I'm wrong, but it doesn't matter who wins or who doesn't win. But if we get a few more, you know, uprisings of the Muslims and pushback and more cops keep killing more blacks and more whites keep killing more cops and yada, 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 there's every possibility that there's going to be an executive order signed. Circumstances, the country is so unstable that the present administration feels that they must stay in place until such time as things have settled out. Now, I hope that doesn't happen. I really, truly hope that doesn't happen. But the more you look at this, the more the possibility seems reality. But then again, it doesn't matter who wins, okay? You know, the people are not in play here. So the people are going to lose regardless. Okay, because the whole operation is the takedown of your nation. And it's a spiritual war. You got to understand that. This is a spiritual war. And we got to get our spirit back. Everybody's spirit's gone weak, which means their spines have gone weak, which means their minds have gone weak. You know, I see a great change out coming if we step up to the plate. We have the ability, we have the capacity, and we have the power. All we got to do is exercise it. It's not going to exercise itself. You have to engage in it. You have to engage your neighbors in it. This is not about being fearful. This is not about being afraid of authority. This is simply moral men and women understanding their responsibilities to each other, to their families, to their children. It doesn't take an Einstein to look at what's going on here and say this is healthy for anybody. I mean, it's a disaster. And those that created the disaster and the chaos are not going to come and undo it for you. Ain't gonna happen. So again, there's a handful of them and a whole bunch of us. All we gotta do is step up to the plate. We gotta get out of the stands. We gotta quit being, we gotta participate. Because we're not participating. I hear all this language about, to hear what Trump's going to do, Clinton's crazy, yada, yada. That's not participating. Okay? That is not participating. That's sitting in the stands, watching a stupid play, which unfortunately has very negative effects for you and your family. What's that popped up there? A pistol, grid thy loins. Yeah. Yeah, I got no problem with weaponry. I got no problem with weapons. I just don't believe that we need to get into this massive firefight. I think we can do this without that. I don't like what I see from the past history. Hundreds of millions of people's lives were sacrificed to get the United Nations and Israel into place. We don't need that kind of destruction to put things right. We do need to simply stand up, and I got nothing wrong. I have no problem. I mean, the whole idea of a well-armed militia is exactly the answer. We're taking it back. Move aside. It's just a simple decision that's got to be made. The firefight is coming whether you like it or not. I don't believe so. I really don't believe so. It will. There's going to be some scrapping going on, but the people, just like the natives, do not have the firepower, and you're just going to have a lot of bodies laying around without a lot of success. You got to look at the logistics of this thing, and the logistic state. You don't have the firepower. Okay? It's that simple. So while you need to be well armed, you will not win this fight through arms. You will win it through your moral value points while being well armed. Because you're going to speak truth, they're going to speak lies. You're going to be honest, they're going to be deceptive. You're going to be in truth and law, they're going to be in lies and legal. That alone gives us the upper hand. And we will win it on those grounds. I don't know much about the Bundy thing. But what I saw there is a good start. That is, we're going to back your asses down. And they did. And I'll never forget Waco, because I was in the States when Waco was burned down. And I was flabbergasted that the American people didn't go to the aid of those people at Waco. That was a sacrifice. That was a satanic sacrifice. And the people laid down. And that was unfortunate because that was a test. That was a test by those who got your nuts in a wringer to see if the people would stand up. And they didn't. That just encourages more garbage to come our way. But it's getting to the point now where people are having a more and more difficult time to feed their families and keep a roof over their heads and pay their hydro bills. So it's getting very personal now. You can't look away from it anymore. And I think that's where the strength's going to come from. You can only push people so far, and their backs are going to get against the wall. And some of those people are going to have to start pushing back, and they're going to have to be the ones that encourage the rest of the people in their neighborhoods to do likewise. The police are afraid of you. The government is afraid of you. Okay? That's the other ticket. They are afraid. They are scared to death that the people are just going to stand up and say, hey, we've had enough of this nonsense. We get the deception. We get the what the legal system is. We get all this. It's over. You know, people get what's this? People here are considered anti-Semitic. I don't even know what the hell that's supposed to mean. Anti-Semitic, anti-gay, homophobic. Piss off. All right? Anti-Semitic. I wish somebody, I don't know what I got to say about the Jews. I hope somebody hauls me in front of a human rights commission. I would just revel in that thought. This idea that you can't say what's on your mind, bull. If you don't say what's on your mind, you're in trouble. And that's what they like about it. Anyways, I've been rattling on here for a long time, and I'm not going to apologize for it. It's just how I feel today. It's frustrating as hell is what it is. But we're going to put them on the run, you know. I know how scared they are because when I was at the council there years ago and they were trying to patronize me, and it was just hilarious. I don't even know why it came out of my mouth. It just seemed the right thing to say at the time. Oh, hey, Ron, how's it going? How's everything going? You know, I said, everything's great. Here's the zinger, and how are Satan's little helpers? And they just curled up. You know, they kind of put their hands in front of themselves and that and went, we really wish you wouldn't say that. Well, that's what you are. And I got to say what I see, and this is what I see. We have the power, make no mistake about it. We are so much stronger than they are. And they know it. All we got to do is move it forward. Anyways, I think that's about the end of the show. Hal Behind the Woodshed is on at 3 o'clock. I love his shows. You know, he got his shit together. And everybody's basically talking the same stuff. We just got to step up to the plate. That's all there is to it. It's that freaking simple. And I don't know. What's this? Damn it, the Goyim won't obey. Pull it. Have a great afternoon, everybody. Hal's on at 3. Back Tuesday, 7, 8.
Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower
Take
class
care.
and social
Good.
slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for